Sharkey. I am a senior associate in the London IP team at Hogan Lovells, and I'm here today to talk to you about our great IP practice, what we do, and how wonderful it is to be an IP lawyer at Hogan Lovells. So I appreciate that many of you won't know what I mean when I speak about IP. IP stands for intellectual property. And I actually looked up a definition of intellectual property on the internet just before I started this talk. And the overall broad definition is that intellectual property is the creation of the mind. And so that covers things like innovations, images, literary works, artistic works, inventions, anything that comes out of an individual's mind that's creative or innovative is intellectual property. And so what, as lawyers, do we do? What do we talk about when we speak about IP law? So that is, generally speaking, the regime that protects, commercializes and enforces intellectual property rights. And within that regime, we obviously have a range of different intellectual property rights. So I'm thinking about patents to protect inventions, copyright. You might be thinking about books or theatre or music, trademarks, your favorite brands, be it Adidas and Yeezy shoes or your Apple iPhone, and confidential information, so trade secrets like the Coca-Cola recipe. And I thought rather than speaking about these rights in the abstract, I'd bring it down and talk about it in the context of an article that we all know perhaps a little too well, which is the smartphone. And a smartphone consists of lots of different elements, all of which are protected by intellectual property rights. And so if we're thinking about patents, for example, our patents team deals a lot in smartphone patents, and the most prolific of which is the technology where phones and the networks connect to each other and speak to each other, send data across the networks to other phones, all your likes on social media, for example. And then going in a bit deeper, let's think about the copyright that subsists in a smartphone. And that would be the layout, the artistic layout of the phone, your design of your app stores, the icons on your phone, but also the software that underlies the phone. So all of the source code that makes the phone run and it's on your operating system, that's all protectable by copyright. And then, of course, we've got the brands that you as a consumer will be faced with on a day-to-day basis. We've got Apple, the word mark itself, but also the logo, the Apple. And we have Samsung, HTC, to name just a few. So now that you understand a little bit more about what intellectual property law is, I thought I would move on to speak about how brilliant it is to be an intellectual property lawyer at Hogan Lovells. And so rather than give a rather one-dimensional view of that, from my own lived experience, I actually went out and canvassed the views of our wonderful team to get a bit more of a flavour of, across the team, what are the best things about being a lawyer in the IP team. And interestingly, almost all of the responses fell in three categories. That's the people, the work, and the law. And I'm going to take a deep dive into each of those little points now. So people first, because ultimately that's at the heart of what we do. I work with an incredible bunch of people. We are all passionate about what we do. We're interested in technology, innovation, and brands. And we live and breathe our clients every day. And I genuinely love coming to work and being with this great bunch of people. And when I say great bunch of people, I don't mean just the London team. I mean also internationally, across the globe. We are present in about 28 different offices in 13 different markets. And on a day-to-day basis, I will be picking up the phone to someone in Tokyo, Alicante, Paris, DC, California, depending on the time of day. And so as well as talking on the phone every day, we travel together internationally as a team. We are one team worldwide. We go and see our clients who are based all over the world, and we have a lot of fun doing that. And that brings me on to our wonderful clients. We are fortunate enough to work with an incredible roster of clients. We act for 50% of the world's top brands in our trademark practice, and we also work for 7 of the 10 most valuable technology companies in the world. Not only those facts and figures impressive in themselves, but the people, and it always goes back to the people, the individuals working within those companies are a delight to work with. They are passionate about their brands and their products. They're intellectual. We can have really exciting, interesting conversations with them, and they always bring the most complex, most interesting work to our door. And speaking of intellects, of course, we work with barristers, some of the finest legal minds in the country, if not the world. And we love sitting down with them, chewing over a complex case, developing litigation strategy, and that's a real treat. So that's the people. What about the work? Ultimately, that's what you're going to be doing, and that's what you should be interested in. So we act on a variety of different types of work, be it relating to the different IP rights, patents, trademarks, designs, copyright, but also the types of work that fall within those categories of IP rights. So from day to day, I can be working on a complex cross-border piece of litigation to a high-value technology transaction to developing a strategy for protecting a client's brand globally. And within those types of work, we have a very broad client base in the sectors that we work in. So we have consumer, we work for big brands like Adidas, Mars, Lucozade, and in the technology space, we act for Apple and Twitter, and we also act in pharma, automotive. I count Volvo and Caterpillar as two of my biggest clients. And so from day to day, we can be going from wind turbines to overactive bladders, to tracksuit bottoms, to shoes, to car designs. It's never boring. Not only is the work varied, variety is the spice of life after all, but it is incredibly complex and intellectually stimulating. We have some of the best intellectual property brains in the country and the world, and people come to us with their most complex problems and entrust us with their most valuable assets, be it their brand or their technology that is at the core of their business, their absolute crown jewels, and that feels really special. Not only are most of our matters incredibly complex, they are also very high profile. And not a day goes by where I find some of our matters that I've worked on in the press, not just the legal press, but also on the BBC News homepage. And I get a real thrill out of seeing that, an alert coming up on my phone and showing me something that I've worked on over the last month or so. So when I'm with my friends and family, I can talk about what I do, and they understand it, both from a perspective of a consumer. We're all faced with these brand decisions every day. We walk into a discount supermarket, we see something that looks a bit like a brand, but are we sure? Is it a rip-off? And also just to be able to talk about it because it's in the public realm. As a result of the complexity and high-profile nature of the work that we do, we win lots of awards. We are consistently ranked #1, both in the Legal 500, Chambers and Managing Intellectual Property rankings, and we have also won Impact Case of the Year most recently. So we've talked about the people and the work, and finally, the law. Intellectual property law is niche, it's academic. You probably won't have studied it at university, and definitely not if you took a more direct route into law. But when you come here, you will learn so much about the law, not only in the way, everyday practice, but also we send our associates to Oxford for a year to do a master's in intellectual property law and practice. And while you might think, gosh, another year of academia, I'm not sure I can hack this. Let me tell you, it's one of the best years of your life. Not only do you make incredible contacts within the IP practice in London, but you also learn so much that is so valuable to the practice, it being such a niche academic area of law. I think what's most exciting about IP law is that it's at the forefront of innovation. So we are constantly keeping up with changes to technology, the way that people are targeted with brands, for example, online, and looking at how counterfeiters can circumvent certain measures online to target people with their counterfeit goods. We are constantly playing catch up, but that means that we're constantly moving forward, and that's really exciting. And so that's the end of our dive into our IP practice here at Hogan Lovells. And if I could ask you to take away 3 key things from this talk, it's that being an IP lawyer at Hogan Lovells is fascinating, it's rewarding, and you get to work with an incredible bunch of people across a wide variety of really exciting matters.